Trey Wynn, welcome
Good
to Chat
evening.
Sports Day, baby.
I know, man. It's been too stinking long for us to have sat down. Obviously, there was some time there that I was like, hey, everyone's beating the same dead horses as far as these draft topics and Anthony Richardson and obviously Will Levis, which we'll talk about, and how it all went down. But, man, yeah, it's been good. But how are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I will tell you it's the same deal. Like it's listen to the same things over and over, especially the Will Levis and Anthony Richardson stuff. It is exhausting. It's good to hear the Titans are now done.
Yeah.
I know
we know what we're working with.
We know what we're working with, and you and I have some slightly differing opinions.
Sure.
The world is not happy, but we're going to get into some more Titans world talk here in just a minute. But let's hit that sweet little intro video.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Chat 10 Sports, where we're talking all things Tennessee sports and everything in between. If you're watching us from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, we do invite you to chat with us live, so make sure and keep that thing live. And if you're listening to us, be sure to follow, subscribe, rate the show, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell for notifications. But folks, with that said, without further ado, let's jump into a brand new episode of Chat 10 Sports.
So, brother, as we have spoken about, let's start with the big hitter here. We'll just do the simple 10 stuff of going, what was your general overall thought on the draft?
In general, I thought when we had, 2018, 2019, when the Titans, when Nashville hosted the draft, and just how awesome it was. But I realized this. For those that don't know, Chase and I were on the same YouTube TV plan, and your boy Genius over here decided to cancel it a week before the NFL draft. Now, listen. Now that the damage is done, now that we're all past that and the water's under the bridge, I am feeling better. But for about 2 hours there, I was like, I need to text Chase and get this thing back up and going, because I am like, there is something very, very special about that. The whole like chime, the whole ESPN, the immediate fire off, and the Mel Kiper and the McShay. It's like, shoot. So I sat and I watched, Bleacher Report on YouTube, which was, surprisingly okay. They had some, AJ Brown was on there, Micah Parsons was on there.
So they had current players, right? Like
correct,
pretty much
correct.
All current. Yeah.
Yeah, Calais Campbell was on there, and it was actually pretty cool to see their live reactions of obviously how the quarterbacks spun down. I was anticipating chaos. I think we got chaos, and I think the fact that I did think Will Levis was going to fall. The biggest thing that shocked me, just to kind of start it off from the beginning, we knew Bryce was going to Carolina. We knew the Texans were going to go defense. I thought they were going to go defense because they were going to pick later at 12. Did not have a thought in my mind of them going from 2 to get Stroud. I'm like, cool. All right, let's go Arizona. And all of a sudden, trades in. They're getting Will Anderson. So, speaking on that, like divisionally, huge for their franchise, because we knew, obviously, D'Amico Ryans was once a force there with the Texans. We knew the Brian Cushings. We knew other players, Whitney Mercilesses, the J.J. Watts, that would just terrorize us and ruin our days, our Sundays. So seeing them do that well out of the gate, I was like, oh. Just the most, again, like we talked about so many scenarios of who goes where and how is it going to happen. But to think the Texans were going to trade back up 2 to 3, unreal. What did you think about the top 3 picks so far?
I was like you. I was so surprised. That's just something like you didn't even hear an inkling about, which goes to show how good these teams are at keeping secrets.
I mean, for sure.
Come on, dude. Not one leak. I didn't hear one leak from that going down at all. I mean, for them to jump up, I was talking to my uncles about this, like with getting a quarterback, getting CJ, who all these quarterbacks you can kind of poke holes in. Let's be honest.
Here's the thing. That's always the case. Every player in this draft, and I feel like people genuinely believe that Bryce Young is starting day one and he will be the man. It's like, no, he has to adjust and work on his game at this speed. But anyways, they've all got their holes and their problems.
They've all got their holes. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no Andrew Luck in this draft. Like there's no super great prospect. No matter what, he's going to work out kind of guy. Bryce Small, CJ has the S2 scores,
Mhm.
and there's just some games that he had that were rough, or they were just very well. I say not rough. Rough may be the wrong word, but it was pretty low end.
Yeah.
So you look at those guys, and you're like, well, you can poke some holes, but then they go get CJ because he had probably the best game of anybody all year in that Georgia
Mhm.
game. So when you look at CJ, you're like, okay, the top end is there.
Yeah.
And then you go get the second or maybe the third most prominent position in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you go get a pass rusher that honestly, Will is special. He gets game plan for probably as much as anybody last year. Didn't have a great game against Tennessee by a man that got drafted 10th,
To
but
the Bears, which I love that pick.
love that pick for them.
Yeah.
So all those to say they got two premier positions. And, they leveraged a hard part of their future. But when you get guys like that are that special in your mind, it's worth it. So I'm not huge on Anthony Richardson, but I see the top end stuff people talk about. So now, if it even kind of works out, how are we looking right now, Trey? How are the Titans looking in this division?
Well, that's the thing. The quarterbacks coming in, I do think Will Anderson was probably the best prospect in this draft because it wasn't that deep. As we saw, like after a while, it's like, all right, these are just guys who are probably going to be practice squad or depth players or special teams guys. But for Will Anderson and those guys to be in the draft or for in the division, and then Richardson to come in, and I get it too. Like he is statistically the most freak athlete of any player to ever go through this process.
Yeah.
So his, all the measurables, all that stuff. And my thing is this, Chase, as much as we are biased towards the Vols, right? We can crap on anybody. We can say Florida doesn't have a great offense. So he maybe he elevated them to being as good as they could be last year because their spring game this year looked like absolute garbage, like finished 7-7 or something like that. It was a snoozer. But and then the same thing with Will Levis. Like, how much are we just throwing crap at him because he's playing for Kentucky, and we don't take Kentucky that seriously?
No,
I'm guilty of that. Just for the kind of precursor of what we're going to talk about with Titans here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But for Richardson, for Stroud, for Will Anderson, like top talent, and that was a theme for the Titans draft was just absolute freak athleticism. And here's the thing: if Richardson wasn't the guy, and this is what the Colts have said, they were considering Will Levis. And I think it's the same reality for Anthony Richardson. If he was not taken at 4, he would have fallen all the way to where Will Levis was sitting in the beginning of round 2. And he would have been potentially the guy that we got.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to jump into all Titan stuff. I kind of like what we're doing with going pick by pick and just saying, here's what we thought. And then we'll get to Pete Skoronski and maybe we'll go from there. But if he is a Cam Newton, if he's half of Cam Newton, if he is Lamar Jackson, and that's the thing, if it's an average or it's a conservative expectation of what he could be, it's still scary to think about Anthony Richardson.
Terrifying.
Especially, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but Michael Pittman and Jonathan, the running back. He disappeared last year. Freaking A, I can't think of Jonathan. What's his freaking 20, whatever. Yeah. It's off season, people. So yeah, we're out here.
Man, my mind is blanking, dude.
Yeah, but Quentin Nelson, they did have a really good draft overall. But just to think, if they are able to put the pieces together, obviously they're coming out of bad contracts like the Titans have been and other picks. But do you have number 5 overall picked? Do you have like the list picked up as far as selections?
Yeah, let me get you here. I've got it
because
real quick.
I'm at 4 with Richardson, and I know there was some talk with ESPN personnel as far as like 4, 2 or 3 or however many of the 4 picks going for quarterback on the top 4 or 5 or whatever it was. But the thing is, once he came off, who was 5? Was it?
It was Witherspoon, the cornerback.
Witherspoon. He went where? To the Seahawks.
He went to Seahawks.
Seahawks
had a good draft.
Yeah, they did. And that was, I mean, my thought is just, this is crazy for me. Pete Carroll's been there a long time now.
Yeah.
Like he's been, I don't know if he's more successful in NFL, obviously huge team in USC with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, but Interesting to see them not go. That was another spot where I thought Will Levis could go. What's the lineup from there? So Devin Witherspoon to who?
It's going to, then we'll have, this was to the Cardinals. It's Paris Johnson.
Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
Thought
that's
it
who
was a
both of us
little
kinda
bit
wanted.
early. Thought of yeah.
But
Go
they
on, what do you think?
finally got him somebody to block for. It seems like he has pushed for somebody to come block for him for years, and now he's finally got it. And it's Jonathan Taylor was the running back for the Colts,
Yes,
by the way.
yeah.
I couldn't remember his last. I kept wanting to say Jonathan Stewart, but
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
That's not him. That's not him.
Same here.
To be honest, like I don't know anything about. I didn't know anything about Tyree Wilson. I watched a few Big 12 games, but he went to Vegas.
That was 6.
That
He's
was
a freak
7.
at
No, so
okay.
Paris was 6.
6, okay.
Tyree was 7.
I'll say this about Tyree
Wilson.
Wilson, okay. Freak athlete, powerful, and again, like Bleacher Report had Calais Campbell and Micah Parsons on there to sit there and say this dude, if they can put it together. Here's my thought though with the Raiders. I don't take their draft classes seriously because of the Gruden Mayock era, where it's like they didn't pick up anybody with a 5th-year option for 3 out of 4 years or whatever it was, and now they're basically starting scratch. But I think he's an awesome talent. Josh McDaniel and that whole thing. Jimmy Garoppolo out there too. But all that to say, I thought I was surprised that Paris went high. I thought Tyree could have gone higher. But yeah, for the Raiders, I thought that was a pretty solid pick. I think everyone needs pass rush help, and I think when you're bad like that, you need as much help as you can get on the defensive end side.
Yeah, they've got a long way to go. The next one was Bijan, who I think's the most talented player in the draft. And
yep,
how did you feel about the running back going high?
I think it's wonderful. I think for our fan base and for Titans, we know Art Smith. We know what the scheme that he's going to bring in there. They've got talent out of the wazoo. Give me 1 second, Chase. I'm going to mute my phone real quick so I don't get disturbed. If you can hear me still.
No, you're good.
But no, I thought Bijan at 8 was absolutely wonderful for so many reasons. And here's what I have to realize. I've tried to pawn Tannehill off on the Falcons, like just take him. We'll eat some of his contract. We'll take whatever. But this does put Desmond Ridder in a spot where it's like you do have Tyler Algier that down there. Am I saying his name correct?
Yeah.
Algier?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have Kyle Pitts, you got Cordell Patterson, you got London, you got Ridder. This feels, and it seems like everyone's trying to replicate this now. If you can get a young quarterback and get cheap and just surround them with talent, like a Brock Purdy, like they're trying to do with Ridder, like we probably hope to do with Will Levis. That way, it's not all this pressure on one dude. Because Ridder, I mean, if you play the game and if you execute the scheme, I mean, that's what Ryan Tannehill has done. He has not been years and head and shoulders above everybody else as far as these unbelievable plays like we might see from an Aaron Rodgers and Manning and Brady, where it's just like these guys they can't do wrong.
Yeah.
But I think for someone like Ridder, Bijan Robinson, who I do agree, like as far as true blue chip running back, can do everything. I think this is what I put on my Twitter and I've told other people. I think Bijan is a CMC type of running back talent where he can do anything you ask of him.
Yeah.
So I love the pick. Absolutely. I did. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because when you mentioned that CMC type running back, CMC is about one of maybe 2 guys. Jonathan Taylor's had his moments because, and I can put Henry in this, he's kind of his own category, but like CMC changes your team and puts you in that NFC championship type category, which you clearly saw last year.
Yeah.
With San Fran. Yes, they didn't make it, but I'm just saying he puts you in a category where he can take over games in so many facets. And if you are Atlanta, you have the highest volume running team, I think, or them and the Eagles, the number 1 and 2 running teams last year by volume. And now you're going to have Algier having a year of getting kind of banged up as far as he ran a lot. They used him a lot towards the end of the year. You need somebody else. You're going to need both those two-headed monster type attack because that's what you want for Ridder. Pitts and who they drafted? Who's the wide receiver from USC?
London. I forget his
Drake
first
London.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, Drake London. So you have Drake London and you have Kyle Pitts down there.
Young talents, dude.
We were talking there. It's like safety valve USA, baby. Like it's just check down, check down,
Yeah.
check down. Whatever he wants, deep shot. As you mentioned, he is going to have his options with very safe and creative stuff because we all love Art. That's one thing about Art was he didn't get too cute. I mean, there's times where you had to with this Titans roster. We were talking about that the other night with me and G and them. It was just like, wow. There were moments when you look back with our coaching staffs before,
Yeah.
and it's so cute. Now, Art's going to have a plethora and somebody that's going to be a game changer. And with the running back position, if you don't love anybody else, I do think they would have taken Witherspoon if he was there. But with him gone, you take the best player in the draft that's going to help you right away. You get that fifth-year option for a running back who's probably going to, and you're probably not going to pay him that second contract. We just know it kind of doesn't work anymore. So you get him an extra year and you take it for cheaper. And that's how you play this game. And you just kind of do the turnover game. And if you got the best player in the draft, it's a good win for you. That's a dang good win for you.
I think it's also interesting to think of I know a lot of Falcons fans have come out and some of them saying we want Bijan, like we want to commit to that, the two-headed monster, like you're saying. But also some fans are saying to have Algier there, have success, to do well. It's like, why did we not go to a different position? And I think they've done so much work this offseason that it gives you that luxury pick to say, look, dude, if we get this guy. And here's the thing for Ritter, and this is true of Levis and any other young quarterback. If they take that pressure off of him and they protect him and keep him upright, all you have to do in these schemes a lot of times is execute the play action, execute the run attack, and then get the guys that can make the yak plays, the yards after catch, and make plays. Because nowadays it's the Titans, for example, next year will have a ton of money to work with, right?
A ton.
It seems they're looking towards that time to start really bringing in that number one wide receiver or number two receiver or whatever. They could probably still do that post-draft now, but when you have the money in the salary cap, when you have a rookie quarterback under contract, it doesn't get much better, which we can talk about Levis later. I love the pick. I just want to say that just because it does give him that freedom. And I'll tell you why later. I think that it is maybe time for them to release Ryan Tannehill sooner than later, probably. That's my opinion. But going back to Bijan, that was a thought for Falcons fans of like, could they have done a defensive pick and helped on that side of the ball? When it's like, look, man, if you're going to put all these chips in Ritter's basket, eliminate every excuse possible. Because if it's third, fourth and short or whatever, and you have to have that first down, you got to have a team that can do it. And if it's just a running attack, and I think Bijan is that guy that, like, you cannot line up on him and confidently say, I'm going to cover him well.
No.
Because he is just a freak. Yeah. And I mean, that's the versatility that I think he could play slot and have success there and go in the backfield, or you could, do all. It gives them the ability to do so much with him on top of so many other talented, Pitts, Patterson, London, where that offense is going to be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah. And to go with that, Bijan, and there was probably legit, to me, there was like four to six real guys that I believe are going to be good for a long time and right away.
Mm-hmm.
Bijan and the next pick, Jalen Carter, was probably those are my top two. And
yep.
Jalen going to Philadelphia it makes the most sense. People were wanting Jalen Carter in Atlanta so bad. But as Miggy mentioned on the radio the other day, you cannot put that man in Atlanta with a young team, with his boys from Georgia just not too far up the road.
Yeah.
You can't do it, man. You cannot do that. You can't put this guy in a terrible situation. He needs some dudes up there in Philadelphia. He needs Fletcher Cox telling him, hey, nah, bro. He needs all of his friends. Like, he's got N'Kobe Dean. It's Georgia North now.
That's
all it is. It's
and
Georgia
DeAndre
North.
Swift.
They got three guys. Yeah.
DeAndre Swift
added
from
Swift
the Lions.
too. Dude, it's wild. But you know what? Why not? Why not take the best team? What is it? 60%? What is it? Yeah, I think it's 60 to 70% of 5 stars have gone to the same 5 programs in the last 7 years. So I'm sure a huge part of those are Georgia. So
Well, like you said, I mean, I think the culture in Philly is in such a good spot right now that obviously all of his legal stuff and his complications, bad decisions, and so on and so forth. I know his reputation of not having a motor, not like having that consistent finish on play to play. But like you said, I think that's where you have those other, because Hassan Reddick is up there. I mean, they have a ton of talented guys on that defensive line to say, look, dude, you could be great.
yeah,
But then again, I do see him as a guy that could be a bust. And I think Philly, and I don't know, I don't like this kind of thing where now Titans fans have this thought, well, if we were to have drafted Broderick Jones, an offensive tackle from Georgia, he'll be the same thing as Isaiah Wilson.
oh yeah, somehow, some way.
And it's a low hanging fruit, lazy take. But all that to say for Jalen Carter, it's really up to him. Like, he has everything he needs to. And here's what I mean: he could start week 1 and dominate guys in that scheme out of the gate. And I do think that he will have as much success as he wants to allow himself in the way that he works and decides to, move forward in his football career.
100%. And he definitely feels like a cat that in the right scenario, he could be one of the greatest players we ever saw. I mean, he really, like, legit, people talk about how he has the most talent up front, surpassing Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't for the character issue, which I was listening to Kevin Clark today talk about, he said, I've met with a couple of GMs, and this was prior to the draft, and people were talking about Jalen and just guys that had been troublemakers or problems or divas or whatever category you want to put in there before coming in the draft. One of these GMs kind of looked at him and be like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. If we just faded every guy that like didn't show up for practice or didn't give 100% all the time, or
you have
was
nobody.
kind of a crap head, like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
We'd have nobody. And he said, it's amazing. You would not believe how many times we have guys come in that are problems, but they get to this level. And especially in a locker room like that, you have guys that are going to hold you accountable. And these guys turn around, or the money motivates them, or this, or that, or they just find ways to just grow up. Like, it's just small things. Even in that, like, we've all like grown up just from being 21. Like, I would never do the stuff I did back then.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes you progress just by life, and that's it. And he said most of the time, a lot of the guys are motivated by, oh wow, like my teammate, like he's making $60 million a year or whatever. That would be sweet. Like, that might motivate you, or just the way they live. And like, you're not able to like go out with them every time because you're not making the same amount of money. So that might motivate you, or just the way, like, the fame or the fun of just being top dog. It just motivates these guys in different ways. So that's why Jalen's going to have a heck of a run.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to be pretty good. He's going to get in one-on-one situations. He's going to be probably an NFC championship. Like, it's Phillies to take still. Outside of maybe San Fran, the NFC is
wide open.
It is wide open, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a solid pick for them as far as staying in their pass rush, which I think is so vital for.
So vital.
I mean, championship playing level playing football. So
yeah, I was trying to remember back, like, I don't remember a team having like just a meh defensive line and making it to a Super Bowl.
No, I mean, I think it really started whenever that Strahan and OCU Minora defensive line took out Tom Brady with the undefeated year. I think it was like, what was that, 2011 or something, 2012?
Yeah, they were
but
nasty.
No, I mean, that's the importance of that. It can't be overlooked, and that's why I'm thankful to think of what the Titans have coming back for their defensive line and new acquisitions as well.
New acquisitions, yeah. We'll do one more before we get to the Titans.
Yeah.
Darnell Wright, go Vols.
Love it.
You loved it.
I think he could legitimately be the best tackle in this class. I think this class is strange because we were high on Paris Johnson for the traditional length build. Obviously, Peter Skoronski gets the baby arm comparison and stuff at 32 inches. But Broderick Jones, and you have other guys like Darnell Wright who are raw and they are, Darnell's been doing it for a year at left tackle, or what was it? Was he playing left tackle?
Right tackle.
But they've talked about him moving left. I think he has the ability, but even if they want to keep him at right, I mean, I think he is a plug and play guy from day one.
Early and often.
Where I think, and that's kind of where I'm looking at this thing for Peter Skoronski, which kind of to transition into that, like starting in these rookies sooner than later, I think is a situational luxury that not everybody has. Like you got to have a lot of these guys go out of the gate. And I think for Peter Skoronski, I think he is that. I think he's a day one guy, which is why I loved the pick. This feels like a Bruce Matthews. This dude he was born to play offensive line. And here's what I really think they're going to do with him. I think they're going to take him and put him at left guard. And I think Andre Dillard is a guy that you can try at left tackle. And if it doesn't work, rotate the line around, because now with the depth that Jalen Carter, Peter Skoronski, they've brought in other guys. They've brought in Brunskill. They've got Brewer, who's probably the guy, or maybe Levin to go at center, and then Nicholas Petit-Frere on the right-hand side. My thought is, man, they had a ton of things to do with this draft and this class, and even still before this upcoming season begins. They have taken care of the offensive line, in my opinion. This offensive line is light years ahead. But what were your thoughts with Peter Skoronski, our offensive lineman from Northwestern at 11?
Well, as you mentioned, the fact that he's going to be versatile. He's versatile. He's smart. He's strong. Strong, baby. Strong.
Real strong.
Real strong. Little things that you love already about the guy. You can tell mannerism wise, you're like, oh, he's a Vrabel dude. Having his party at this pizza joint downstairs at a bar was great. But just overall, if you still believe this is a similar-ish team, you're going to need versatility. We're going to need to move guys around.
Mm-hmm.
The injury bug is real with this Titans team a lot. And hopefully this is the year that stops. But, man, Skoronski has the versatility to do so much throughout this season and next season and the next season. If you need him to play tackle one year for a couple games, if you need to play guard, he can do it. He can fill those roles, which you're going to need. It was at the time, that was the best possible pick. Like it is the best possible pick. He's going to be a great fit. That Bruce Matthews comparison probably could be right on the money.
I mean,
it could be a lifer.
Yeah, and I think he will be. I think he's a guy that's going to give you a perennial Pro Bowl, All-Pro. He just seems like the dude that shows up with a sack of his things, and he is ready to go just to shut up, work out, and eat, breathe, and sleep that stuff. And he's just born to do it. He looks like one of those kids that from the beginning, he talked about playing early on and having to have the line on his helmet because he was just too big to carry the ball. This kid is a fat kid at heart who rounded out, and you could just see his build. This big upper body. I mean, he's massive. The arm thing. Massive. Here's my thing, man. We get so desperate in this like desert stage of the offseason where we're getting up into the draft, and they're like scrutinizing these guys for 3 difference of inches on their arm length and bench press reps and verticals. And it's like, look, some of these things, I get it. But to an offensive lineman, especially if you watch Peter Skoronski's film, he has no problems from bull rushes to setting his anchor on a pass rush and all the above, like moving, pulling. He's 6'4". He does have the guard build, which is why I think they'll try him there first. But like you said, he's aware of the versatility need. The Titans are aware of the versatility need because now the Titans are not going to find themselves. And even with the later pick, I think it was 6th round for Jalen Carter, Jalen Duncan out of Maryland. Big guy, 6'5". I think he is. And here's the common thing. All the relative athletic scores for these guys, for Rand Carzon's class, were super high. And even some of the undrafted free agents that are coming in now. So I agree with you. I love the pick for Peter Skoronski. I thought that, like Rand Carthon mentioned, I thought he could have been higher if Arizona wanted to go interior offensive line. Instead of Paris Johnson, he could have gone there. But he mentioned him as one of the few, there's probably 20 blue chip guys in this class, and they got one of them, and I'm very happy with that pick. But let's move to the Titans. You want to go just straight Titans now? And we can
Yeah,
kind
we'll
of
just do
focus on
Titans
that?
here. We got into the next one. Will
Yeah.
Levis. You like it. You like it, actually.
Well, obviously going in, I did not consider quarterback a need. And I didn't consider it a need because of the other positions of need that were so dire of wide receiver and for offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, if you take a step back and look at it and say, next year, Tannehill's gone. Malik Willis is the guy right now behind him. Not good. They've already given up faith on him. I think all fans have been like, look, dude, you were damned from the beginning. This offense was terrible when you had to go in and play, which gave you little to nothing to work with, and you just weren't flat out ready. I think Malik is not very good now. I think he does give you the option for a good athletic quarterback in the system that you could probably develop. But my ceiling for him right now is backup in this league.
Yeah.
So that all to say, next year's class, you have two guys. We love Drake May and Caleb Williams. And it's just not going to happen next year if those are one of the two guys that you're going to – because here's the sad thing. At worst, I think the Titans are probably 6-11, 6 or 5-10 or whatever it is.
The defense is
5-12.
too good. The defense is too good.
And Stonehouse is too good a punter where you're not going to have those games that he just completely changes the field position and the defense holds you within, just score 10 points,
Yeah.
And that's I really do think the Titans defense will be that good. So with the offense, and here's the thing too, money is so tight that if you release Tannehill tomorrow, which Chase, we're recording this Sunday night, 9:00 at the time of the recording. If they release him tomorrow, you get $17 million this year. If that's freed back to you. And I think they've got maybe 9, 10, 11 million right now. And then you get an additional $9 million back in 2024 for next year.
Holy moly.
So there's a little incentive. And here's the other part. Mike Herndon put this up today about Will Levis and why it would make sense for the Titans to release Tannehill versus keeping him. Will Levis has been in the system at Kentucky, and if you go back and you go on YouTube, there's a 2021 highlight tape of Levis where he's running some of the same scheme, the same attack. And I'm telling you, Chase, you'll recognize these plays because it's the same play action, it's the same boots, it's the same movements. And here's where he's really good. He's athletic enough to pull up in the pocket, move around, and extend plays in a similar way that Tannehill has been able to. But they have not had the talent to help Tannehill in many ways.
No.
It's past the point. That's why I love the pick, because it positions you for the future. But, and again, I think a lot of the crap that he gets is a good 2021 film. 2022 was not that good. For us around here,
No.
He plays for Kentucky. He looks like a douchebag. He's out here putting mayonnaise in his coffee and eating banana peels and stuff like that. Weird dude. Look, like you were just saying about Jalen Carter, how many guys that if they didn't look like this and sound like that and do this and do that, they don't give a damn. They're looking at one thing. Can this guy help me win games? And I think Will Levis does that. I think it's maybe not an overnight thing. I am not going to be shocked in the slightest if they push all their chips in and say, look, we're going full Peyton Manning. You might send as many interceptions as he did that year, but he learned, and he is obviously phenomenal. But all that to say, tell me your thoughts on Will Levis.
I absolutely hate it, to be honest with you. I absolutely hate it. I watched a lot of Will for the last 2 years, and this has been a conversation in every group text. I mean, it is dark out here in the streets. Our boy Ryan Shumper from Rocky Top Insider just said, "This is pain." Yeah. I do get it from a perspective of, well, he kind of has first round like looks, but when you go back, he was never a guy that just did it in the moment. He never had it. He wears his heart on his sleeve way too much. His emotions show, and once again, could grow up, but he's also already 24. He is a cat that when he's down, the whole team's down real quick and in a hurry. That was kind of how Cam Newton was back in the day a little bit, but Cam was just a freak of nature. I don't think Will is as special, like with the arm as most people think. When I watch him, and it was a little bit better in 2021, but last year he didn't have that drive on the ball. When I watch, that's one thing I'll say about Anthony Richardson. When I watch him throw that football, there's so much freaking velocity on it. It's scary. I think Will's goes far. I just don't think it has the same juice on it. As you mentioned, good play action. That Kentucky team was pretty bad last year. That offensive line was pretty rough. But also he has some terrible throws. Tennessee would probably be the worst defense in the country if it wasn't for playing against Will Levis. He made some bad throws in that game, and it's against a pretty dang bad defense. I just can't get behind it. I don't get it. If you're going to sacrifice not taking him in the first round when you can get the 5th year out of that, and you don't believe he's a franchise guy, why waste a second on him?
Because you have bigger needs at offensive line, and I think Pete Skoronski checks that much-needed box more than quarterback. And the thing is, if he did not fall, which no one really thought, like they knew of the drop from, I think, 21, every team had their guy at quarterback. I'm talking about Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen, everyone, Herbert, all of them. So I don't think that if he had stayed there, we would have taken him. Obviously, I thought the Titans were thinking maybe the Vikings would take him and groom him under Cousins and let that happen, which would have made sense, which probably would have been great for Levis.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. But all that to say, I don't think I get the concerns. The concerns as far as like him wearing his emotions on his sleeve, and if he's down, the whole team's down. That's where I think a young guy, a guy who is a very high talent on a very bad team, that sounds like frustration to me. And what I heard Mike Vrabel say about Will Levis as far as when they had their visits and, one-on-one day with him where they were able to sit down and ask questions of like, well, why'd you do this? And what made you decide to go that route? And, and they were able to reconcile so many decisions of like, I get why you did that. And he also talked about how there was 30 some odd drops that he had that would have put Will Levis closer to 70% accuracy. Like all that to say, 65% accuracy where I think Levis was compared to Richardson at 54% is a massive gap. And I know that Will Levis is, his big knock is his accuracy because his footwork can get wonky where his feet are pointing left and he's throwing right and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's coachable to me. Like the emotionalism, like you just can't do that crap in the NFL because you're working with the best talent. Yeah. Not to like write off, like here's where everything's going to go right, because Will Levis could go completely MIA as well. But I look at it and say, I think for him, and here's the big flyer for me with Will Levis in particular. If John Robinson made this pick, I would hit the panic button. Red flags. Yeah. We're talking not at all, not a chance. We know this is a doofus who does not draft well. But the kicker was Ran Carthon.
Yeah.
We said it all along, Chase. Like, we like this guy for his scouting and analytics and what he does late in the draft. But, like, when you have a top 5, and here's the thing, bro. When Vegas is sliding you up to go number 1, these are slight decisions, right? These are just small, like, and here's what I want to say about Tennessee's bad defense. Tennessee's defense was not atrocious against the best team in the country at the time with Alabama. And Bryce Young, I mean, he played very well. Mind you, I get it. He did chop us up, and we hung in there. But I don't think it should be a complete indictment to say that Will Levis was the only reason that they weren't considered the worst in ever. Why not? Again,
it was so bad. It was so bad.
I get it. I understand, but I think there's so many variables that go into plays and why this goes that way and yada 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 or whatever it is. But my thought now. The big flyer with this pick at 20, what was it? They tried to go at 27, landed Levis at 33, and everybody's screaming for a wide receiver. And I just want to address this because wide receiver, this group, Jackson Smith and Jigba is not a true wide receiver one. Now, I know that we don't need a wide receiver one. We need depth for wide receiver 2 and beyond. But he's not worth that to me as far as even at 11. Where did he end up getting taken? Like 20 or 21?
Yeah,
Jack,
I think he was C20, and then Quentin was 21.
something like that. But I mean,
Yeah.
those guys, like Quentin Johnson's 3-cone was worse than Cody Mauch, who was a guard that ended up going to
Hey,
Tampa
shout out to
Bay.
Cody, baby.
Right.
Big Cody.
Terrible. Yeah, pretty athletic for an offensive lineman, very bad for a wide receiver.
Yes.
But all that to say, the Titans never seem to be high on a wide receiver because this class just isn't that damn good. Like and here's the thing:
Yeah.
Ohio State's pro day. Who was everybody talking about after that, Chase? That workout.
Who was that? Was that
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
They were saying what a preview, what a thought of what he'll be next year.
He is by far. I mean, that's the thing, and that's the word about CJ too. Is he's played with legit 5, 6 in the last 2 years. NFL wide receivers, two that are number ones. I'm looking through the game log here because like I did the other day. Levis's best games, once again, like he only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games where he had 2 or more touchdown passes. Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois, Missouri, Louisville. Those are all
Good question.
games. Yeah.
You know how many touchdowns that Ryan Tannehill threw in college?
Exactly. But he didn't even play, and he would have probably thrown more touchdowns.
Not many. But my thought is, excuse me. I'm just thinking you can't. I don't think we can. We really have no clue. Like you just mentioned about C.J. Stroud, the fact that he's been talented or surrounded by that much talent at Ohio State, and we have Will Levis, who's name a receiver without looking, who played for Kentucky in the last 5 years.
Oh, they had they actually did have an NFL wide receiver get drafted last year.
If you're watching, I have my hand on my ear looking for the name and name.
No. Well, we've been terrible with names anyways today.
I know. We have. Yeah. It's off season. But all that to say, like, I mean, it's a pretty big red flag when CJ Stroud has these guys, Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison Jr. next year, and obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, the dude is talented. Trust me, I would have been incredibly happy had we moved up to 3 and taken him. But all that to say, everybody has question marks. And what makes me optimistic about this is our organization, the talent that we did bring in around him. And Tyjae Spears, dude, the next pick in the 3rd round that we got, he's missing an ACL in his right leg. Maybe some meniscus damage. But the thing is, listen to this fact. Blank player played his entire career without an ACL. He played for the Steelers. He went to Georgia.
Hines Ward
played his entire career without an ACL and I think one of his legs, which is nuts to think about. But it's the same thing with Tyjae Spears. And this is what this tells me. Other people have talked about this. I'm saying the same thing. It's obvious. They are transitioning away from the Derrick Henry focus where you're paying a running back $16 million. Like you said about Bijan, they might not extend him. Most of these running backs are a dime a dozen. And guys like Tyjae Spears, and this is what Rand Carthon said about him, 3 down back can do it all.
Yeah.
And there was not once during the Senior Bowl, Pro Day, whatever other opportunities they had to see him, this knee was a concern. This genuinely feels, I'll just say this in a general sense, this is what I've seen from Titans fans. We did not get a receiver. That's the first response.
That's the big part
of why they didn't like this class. We didn't get a wide receiver. Here's the reality of what we got. Tyjae Spears.
Yep.
We got Wiley from Cincinnati. This dude looks like he is going to get some snaps.
He looked good in the Senior Bowl too.
He's a big dude. He looks, bigger receiver type like Kelsey.
Good body control, like all the stuff you want.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. When you have Tyjae Spears, you do have this Wiley guy. You have Burks. You have Kyle Phillips, who I think everyone thinks is dead for some reason.
Yeah.
But you have Chris Moore, who would have been our leading receiver last year, mind you, Chase, over the great Robert Woods, who we thought would be Bobby Breeze or Bobby Trees or whatever they call him.
Oh, God.
But I say all that simply
Oh.
because we are, and here's the reality of what could happen. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins. There are several Mike Evans. There are several players out there who want to be traded, but there's probably other players like your DeAndre Swift that if they just drafted somebody else and they were there, and it made sense for them to draft a receiver, and now this puts X person out, this shuffles the whole deck for a lot of teams.
Yep.
I don't think the Titans liked the lot as far as the talent that they were looking at to say this is going to be the class that we're going to go for receiver. I think that might be next year if they want to make a move for Marvin Harrison Jr. or somebody else. But all that to say, this class positions them for the future in a very, very good way, in my opinion, with Skoronski on top of what you've already done for the free agent class. So who else did we miss, though, as far as Chris Dowell from UT Martin?
Yeah.
Or what's his name? Dowell?
Yeah, McDowell. Yeah.
Colton. Is it Colton McDowell?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Also cooked Tennessee. He came in and
150?
he looked great. Wally I don't want to do the thing because Rand was part of the draft where there was a tight end in San Francisco named George Kittle that was also drafted in the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
And you just want it. You're just like, maybe this is our George Kittle.
Yeah.
Maybe this is our George Kittle. Maybe we'll have without the terrible things that happen afterwards, maybe this is our Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Maybe this is our time. Maybe. So I looked at it from that perspective, but Tajay is another one where, besides me not liking the Will Levis pick, and mainly a lot of it is because it's kind of it's fun to not like Levis. This was actually a pretty decent draft. Yeah, we didn't get the wide receiver, but if you don't love them, and that's another class that they fail for a reason. There was no true number one. And once again, this is the draft. We have no idea. There's a reason we're doing this on a podcast and not behind a GM table.
Mm-hmm.
One of these guys, or 3 or 4 of these guys, are going to work out and have amazing careers.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, we don't even know. Quentin Johnson might be the one that turns out to have this amazing all-pro career.
Yeah.
We have no idea. But all that to say, when you get in the 2nd round, I love Hyatt. I really do. But there's obvious concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I love Josh Downs. I'm trying to get to these the 3rd round range. But he's little. He's small. You've got obvious concerns. And you need a compliment for Derek. You need that compliment. And if we're going to run this offense similar-ish, he's probably going to be perfect for it. If you got to watch him in the 3 or 4 big games they were on TV, Tulane was sick, and he was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So we're getting a very talented guy in that aspect. I didn't watch but one Cincinnati game, so I can't tell you how good he's going to be. Wished I could, but when I've read from really smart people, he's awesome. Saw the Senior Bowl stuff. That's what I got out of it. He looks awesome. Now, watch the one game against Tennessee, but dang, dude, you've got potential. We're going to stack up, get some guys that are undrafted free agents. We're going to get maybe a couple free agents off the lot or cut guys, and you're just going to let the cream rise to the top. And I know Rand said it. Once you get out on that grass, we'll just see who works themselves out. Mm-hmm. So it's a risk, but as you mentioned, the floor for this team is still fighting for an AFC South title.
I do. That's an interesting thought as far as just the overall division, because I do think the Jags had they had a lot of picks. Jags had a lot of picks. Texans had a good draft. I think even if it drops off after the first 2 picks, you have 2 guys that you could build your entire franchise around. That you got 3 out, unreal.
Oh my gosh, dude!
But even I do have to keep this into reality for the Jaguars. Their best day last year, week 18 or whatnot, against our worst day, they barely squeaked by.
Barely.
And the thing is, for me, I do think this offensive line's better. I do think that this team is better. I think that what they've done with Arden Key, Bring him in to complement with Danico Autry and Jeff Simmons and Harold Landry and Weaver and the whole rotation. I don't want us to sit here and say, oh, we didn't get a receiver. The thing is, like, how many running backs and tight ends and even Burks and Phillips, whomever else they have, are utilized in screens and slants? And this is how our offense works. We can beat you like this. We can run the crap out of the ball. We can play action. We can convert easy third mids to our tight ends or whatever we have. That's Titans ball. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
It's not beautiful. It is not beautiful.
But we're not that team yet that can throw Hail Marys at you and beat you 500 yards in the air. But the thing is, the way that Vrabel looks like he wants us to go is not going to be that ever. Like, I have to accept that as someone who's been beating their chest. Like, even still, if they could have moved Derrick Henry for the right capital, cool. But now we know it's like just you're going to tie this thing to him for one last year, kick the tires and light the fires, and let's just run the crap out of this dude. And here's the crazy thing. Brunskill and then Pete Skoronski on the other side. Like, that feels like a pretty good guard interior.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty optimistic in the sense that we have so much time between now and the fall that they could trade a second-round pick, third-round pick for next year for a receiver. If it's, Jerry Jeudy, would you do that right now? Would you offer a second or a third for Jerry Jeudy? And what do you think? Who would be your guy if you were to trade for someone on a roster right now?
Realistically, I mean, I feel like you'd have to give up a lot for Mike Evans.
A second?
Second, probably.
Would you do that?
Maybe a first. I don't know what's his contract like? Do you know if I don't remember what it was. It was one of those, like, there's so much information these last couple weeks.
Yeah. I have, off the top of my head, I think he's making average money.
Like,
higher.
Like, I'm trying to think of like a realistic one. We go out and get I guess somebody that we could do like Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give him a second for that. Easy.
I would probably, I know Jerry Jeudy, Bama receivers are a little weird to me.
Yeah,
in the sense of like,
I seriously thought about that first.
Yeah. Good Lord, man. I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Yeah, it's so weird because he also sometimes feels not one-dimensional, but like where I kind of felt like Hyatt was pretty one-dimensional. If he doesn't have a perfect scheme, he's not going to always succeed. I hope I'm terribly wrong about that, but just shows. I would do a lot for Cam Sutton, though, also on the Broncos.
That's the thing. There's a lot of players, and I put up Brandon Ayuk today on Twitter, and
That's
the one thing, but the connection to Rand and the 49ers, like, who knows what they would want for him. I think they did pick up his fifth-year option, which, I mean, if you get the right capital for him, I'd give a first for Brandon Ayuk. What are you going to get in the draft next year? Unless it's Marvin Harrison
where you have a
dog.
He's not like your 2 years ago DeAndre Hopkins #1 type, but you got a #1. And if Burks is what you hope he can be, that's a nasty 1-2 punch, man. Like, Ayuk's not even as good. I don't think Ayuk is as good as AJ. Like, I legit think AJ's in that tier 1-ish class.
Yeah, but you don't need that if Burks is supposed to be the one.
Exactly.
Right?
But that would be, and if, let's say, this is all putting Burks in the category of what you think he can be, then you have a 1A, 1B. And that's what it'd be. Ayuk is very talented.
But my thing, if they made a move like that, right, then the whole narrative changes around Will Levis. Because here's the thing. Then you start looking at, like, hey, we got some talent around this guy with Chig and Wiley and Derrick Henry back there. And then, again, like, I think Phillips, if he can stay healthy, dude, that guy could be that little slot dude that just annoys the piss out of you. Yeah. That he gets between your linebackers and your coverages and he just picks you apart. But my thing, dude, if at 24, he scored a 93 on the S2, the dude's as weird as they come, but like that's a part of the vibe for me where it's like I tweeted this kind of dramatically asking, is this how they treated Josh Allen in Buffalo and how they treated Daniel Jones in New York? Like, he is going to have to win over half of the fan base, because every poll I've seen of how people feel, it's literally split down the middle, and it's just like this. I'm on one side, you're on the other. Like,
Yeah.
but we both see the vision. We just don't know about the player.
Exactly.
And I think, man, think about this. If they cut Tannehill, and then you hit next year's market with $100 million in a second year starter at Will Levis,
Yeah.
that sounds, on paper, it all looks good. So that's my thought for that. I say go Will
Yeah.
Levis. Would you cut Ryan Tannehill today or tomorrow as soon as possible?
I don't know. Here's my thing, though.
He just said, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. And here's why. We have a pretty dang fickle fan base. Like, you have some lovers, but if shit hits the fan, you got a lot of people jumping. Obviously, it's the NFL, so you're going to be lucrative, but you have one of the most boring offenses to watch. Like, we like it, but there's a reason we don't get the big games every week.
Well,
It's tough because if you suck, I mean, really suck, and you try to tank, that's not great for money. This still is a business. And I think that's a slight part of all this. Like, if, everybody, this was, a couple months ago, let's get rid of everybody.
that still could happen.
It's and it still could kind of happen, but now
not
it feels like with the defense staying around, you made some acquisitions, you upgrade your offensive line. Even with just that, like you mentioned, like, you're still fighting for this division, because on their best day, it was a struggle fest for the Jaguars. And yes, the Texans upgraded, but that's going to take some time.
They're still.
That's not next year. Like,
they
might improve next year.
Yeah.
But those two guys are still going to need some time. Bryce has got to get bigger, and it's
But
still
look at
a
it.
huge worry.
You have 8
Bryce,
games. But you have 8 games that your rookie quarterback and Will Levis will be taking on other rookie or second year starters, right? Or third year starters with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Like, that's 17. Think of what you could do with 17 million. Then you could go out and say, hey, DeAndre, hey, Brandon Ayuk. If you're on
even a Jarvis
deal,
Landry, the guy is still on the block.
DJ Chark is still out there as well, and it's like, just get a name. Like, we don't have to have. I mean, even DeAndre Hopkins is a potential Julio 2.0.
God. Yeah.
So it's like, what do you want to do? But at the same time, like, you have enough money next year that you can take a financial cap hit like that. If all things go horribly wrong, that you just hit the eject button and you move on. But my thing is, even now, I still think this team is a 500 team, and I'm okay with that. I think it's okay, because we were 9-7 or 8-7-9 last year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But if we're right around there, but here's the thing too, man. We ended that season on a 7-game losing streak because the bottom fell out and they couldn't find an offensive line. Now they have offensive line. Now they have some people that can come in and do things. So let the record show right now today, on the Sunday, April 30th, that your boy here is all for the Tennessee Titans cutting Tannehill, pushing all chips on Will Levis, and saying, dude, I'm telling you, dude, go watch that film, that scheme, the system. It looks like he is running plays that Todd Downing was calling, and you're ripping your hair out sitting here saying, WTF,
Yeah, and the guy that I was thinking about earlier was Wan'Dale Robinson, plays for the Giants. That's the Kentucky wide receiver, but like,
2 hours later.
Yeah, I needed that. I was thinking about it a lot.
That's funny.
He comes in. I mean, I guess I don't know what your time would be. Would you get to see him much on the field? I guess in the rookie camp, and then you could cut Tannehill. Can you do that?
They've already seen him from a 30, they had a top 30 visit. They had pro day. I mean, they seem like mutually, like Will Levis is saying, we had a great visit. And of all the teams I met with, which is an easy thing to say after you get drafted.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little, yeah.
Yeah, but the Titans seem to be pretty, happy with it.
Clearly. I mean, they moved up for him. Like, I mean, yeah. So,
But if
it
you
makes
give
sense.
Malik
If this is the plan, then yeah, why keep Tanny around? Like to do the mentor thing? It doesn't sound like he wants to do that. Clearly, he didn't like it last year. I don't think why would he want to do this?
but
Like for one more year.
here's one hypothetical. I know we're hitting our hour mark, so we probably have to run here in a second. But my thing is, how much, and we don't know this, it's just a random question. How much did that comment and how much did the interaction between Tannehill and Malik rub off negatively on Malik Willis as far as his development? Like, I'm not mentoring that guy. You know, the situation was what it was with the team and the crew and the play calling. Like, the guy was pretty much, and I don't say this, I think he's a bad quarterback, just to put all that out there with
Malik.
this. Yes.
Yeah, same.
But I think that he started out in a bad position just with the circumstance that he was brought in. And the only reason that we got him, he slipped to the third.
Yeah.
Complete flyer. Again, I think he's at best a backup, but I do think, like right now, how much more is Ryan Tannehill going to offer you on the field than Will Levis is going to give you?
I mean, I think it can be pretty significant.
I don't,
especially in our offense because of the intermediate stuff. Will was really bad at times, man. Like he would sail some passes over the middle that were just atrocious.
It's footwork stuff. It is all footwork.
Yeah.
But that stuff is all coachable to me, especially like I feel like he's supposed to go from a coaching level staff to an NFL staff that can help him go to that next level. Obviously, he has to do it for sure. He has to do it. But
Braves mentioned that. Braves was like, we know the stuff we got to clean up. In the most variable, condescending way to every reporter out there. He's like, I know what we got to clean up. He knows, he understands, but we like him. And once again, I'm really trying to get there. I'm still on the fence, but I'm a lot better than I was because I'm like, hey, man, these guys trust it. There's no more Todd Downing. I think Tim Kelly is better because I'm going to go off the Texans run that he had that last part. And if you can make Davis Mills look pretty dang good, then you can make anybody look good. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah.
It's going to look similar. It's still going to be Vrabel's way or the highway in a lot of situations, but I'm going to try to trust these guys. And I was, like you mentioned earlier, I believed in Rand a lot coming in because you look back at the evaluations and the little things that he's done. And I know it's all a team aspect when it comes to the player recruitment and looking at draft picks, but also he was a huge part of those things and he's nailed them. Mm-hmm. So why should I believe different? I don't know, but I just really didn't love Levis. Neither did most of our fan base. From what I saw, it was pretty haterade. It was tough to watch.
It was reactive for sure. But I think people also have to realize and take a step back saying, like, we got him at 33. We didn't take him at 11. I don't think that people sit there and acknowledge the fact that, hey, guys, we got Will Levis, and we also got a blue chip, expected to be a solid piece. And when's the last time you had that on offensive line?
God knows when.
Saffold, like for a year or two, maybe. And it's like, please, God, let's find somebody. And then we have that. And that's the thing. I think that we lose sight of that for the sake of how bad the offensive line was.
Yep.
And believe me, like if we did not have Burke some of those games, wide receiver would have been number one spot. But still, I think that would have been a free agent thing and not a draft, acquisition to fix that problem because that class was not that good. Just in my opinion.
A lot of holes can be poked on those guys.
Yeah,
a lot of holes. But
I do feel good. I feel optimistic. I feel like obviously, I think you got to bring your expectations to a point where it's like we are in a soft rebuild. This thing could give out. Somebody could get hurt, or by some crazy way that the football gods make happen. Like we could be that team just to get hot at the right time, or it could fall out. But I mean, at this point in time, there are like. How many people on the roster right now? 40, 50? Like,
probably, somewhere in that middle range. Yeah,
so we got to go through camp. And I'll say this now. I'd love to see them on Hard Knocks or Amazon, something, just to get inside view.
Yeah, it would be pretty interesting. I think Braves is a character, dude.
No doubt.
He'd be so much fun. I look forward to it. I'm with you. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I mean, I wasn't like too optimistic either way. As you mentioned, I think Tannehill's better. I think Tannehill's probably like legit maybe 2 games better for Will than Will Levis.
But look at that, dude. 2 games? That's it?
Yeah, because I don't think this like I mean I just don't know if you how much you can do.
But
But
you're
those
saying,
two games you're in the playoffs. Like that's the difference. Is like this defense is too good. You still have Derek, but 2 games is heavy.
but what did a guy named Josh Dobbs off the street do with this team with 2 weeks?
Yeah, but
I-
Dobbs is safer. Like Dobbs doesn't like that. Levis will make the mistakes next year, and he's going to grow. And that's the thing. It's like it's going to take some time. Like if
Josh
you-
Dobbs did make that mistake though. He cost him that game in a way of that what was
He
the
did.
interception he threw. But I just say all that stuff because he came in with 2 weeks, and it's like it's a very fundamentally basic
Oh, it's
offense.
simple.
Last year, now I know they might try and tweak some things with the new staff and stuff.
yeah.
So, but not to stay on here all night long. But my thing is I do think. Let me ask you this one question, and we can go. Did you like the pick whenever they drafted Vince Young?
Yeah, weirdly enough, I did.
I
liked
loved it.
I
I
loved
loved
it. I loved it because he was just a dog, man.
Freak
he
athlete.
won, and he's a freak athlete. Sure, like the throwing stuff, I was like, I don't love it all the time, but
Yeah.
he was so special, man. He was a special winner. That's kind of like the Cam Newton thing. Like, am I going to hang out with Cam? No,
Yeah.
but dude, you just watch somebody take over college football. That's special. That's
Mhm.
why I worry about guys like Levis and Richardson. It's like
But
they
did you
didn't
like
take over.
did you like Mariota?
Oh yeah. I was like the Mariota part was like, I just thought, oh, he's got the swag and the feel, and I was just so wrong because of the Oregon offense was fun. If he would have like just been in like a Stanford uniform instead of Oregon uniform, probably would have liked him.
But did you like the Jake Locker pick?
No, not at the time. But whenever I saw Locker play one game, I was like, oh yeah, like they beat the Chargers at the last minute. And I was like, oh, this could be awesome.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't like it because I was like, there's a reason he fell.
Well,
I didn't
here's the
like
thing.
Locker pick.
With those 3 picks of those guys that we drafted at the different time, there's obviously a different set of circumstances. And I feel like Vince Young had a very unstable front office because there was Bud Adams on one side and Jeff Fisher.
God.
Bud wanted Vince. Jeffer didn't want Vince. Mariota, different head coach, different OC every single year. Jake Locker couldn't stay healthy because of whatever reasons, the offensive line or whomever, maybe he's fragile, whatever it is.
He was fragile.
All this to say that what makes me so confident in the Levis pick, he is a piece. He's a prospect. It's the job of the organization and the coaching staff to get the best out of him. I think they are probably the most stable, the Titans, of a situation the Titans have had since McNair.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we're talking stability from Amy Adams Strong, from Rand Carthon, from Vrabel, the collaboration stuff, I think that's where you have successful quarterback, especially young quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks and stuff.
Yeah. And last thing here, in the NFL, if you can keep a guy upright and you can find options for him to dump it off to and make easy plays, and systems are so much better now, even in the NFL. Like, obviously for college, you can plug and play. The NFL is getting there in a lot of ways. You still have to be special because everybody on the other side of the football is special as well. Levis is another guy. Like, keep him upright. Find some guys he can throw to. If it's tight ends, running backs, whatever, hand it off to the best legit ball in hand running back in the NFL. And he'll succeed. Grow the confidence that way. And sure, that's where he can turn into somebody. I think the thing about it is it's hard to like almost take yourself away from Levis because you almost feel like sometimes every quarterback that does this comes into a David Carr situation, and they're not always coming to these situations. So you want to talk yourself into it. If they can keep him upright with his good offensive line, by God, just stay healthy 1 year, O-line. Just stay healthy.
It's coming sometime.
Keep this man upright, build confidence slowly. Because who knows? Like, I hope he's a dog and he took that super serious. He's coming into a good locker room, and maybe it humbled him a little bit because that was the big knock on him too. Was everybody said he was really cocky.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good-looking kid. I'm sure he did well for himself in college. Like, all those things play a part. He's got all the sponsorships. I can only imagine your own ego at 24.
when you're
with
the
no
guy.
bull, you're no bull. You got your beautiful girlfriend, like you're going to the NFL. You're a top 5 pick. You got a weird number 1 Reddit pick coming your way. You shifted betting odds. You're weird guy on Reddit shifting betting odds so hard that it cost a ton of people money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all of it to say the situation can be pretty good for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to take time.
No doubt. I agree. I think every quarterback who's come out, Ryan Leaf compared to Peyton Manning,
Oh God.
no one knew at that time. No one knew Baker Mayfield would be a first overall pick and then become what he did. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the guy a chance. And yeah, man, I'm very happy with the class. I know they're doing undrafted free agents as well right now, which will keep that stuff going on social media. So anybody listening to this will make sure and check out Chat 10 Sports on our socials. Find Chase MC Green 423. You can find me at Trey Wood anywhere. And yeah, Chase, good
Appreciate
pod,
you,
bro.
big dog.
You know,
Yeah, man. We'll holler at you soon. You picking and singing anytime soon?
doing what now?
You picking and singing anytime soon?
I'll be playing the 6th at the Jubilee in Red Bank, and then I'll be playing Clever Ale on the 20th.
Sweet. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
bro.
Come out and see our boy.
Yeah, man.
All right, bro.
All right, take it
Appreciate
easy.
you. Love you, guys. We'll
Love
talk to
you,
you later.
Dennis.
Tighten up. Go Vols, all that fun stuff. Like, subscribe. See you.